Hi there! I propose that you travel with me to meet the countries of the European Union and the citizens who make them happy. Ready for one of our destinations? Okay, let's go! Denmark is the seventh smallest country in the European Union, with a population of 5.82 million. The Kingdom of Denmark includes the self-governing territories of the Faroe Islands and Greenland. Greenland is a major asset for Denmark and the European Union because of its energy resources and its geostrategic position. Today, Greenland is facing significant demands for independence. The capital of Denmark is Copenhagen, and more than 1 in 5 Danish live there. Denmark is a parliamentary monarchy with Queen Margaret II as head of state. In 1973, Denmark joined the European Union, but the country has retained its own currency, the Danish krone. In June 2022, Denmark voted in favor of joining the European Defence Agency. Denmark is also a member of the United Nations and of NATO. Moreover, Denmark has a cultural importance of equality. For instance, the actual Prime Minister is a woman. Now let's focus on the Danish economy. In 2021, Denmark was the third country in the European Union in terms of GDP per capita and PPC, the main indicator of a country's wealth. For the year 2021, Denmark had a public debt of 36.6% of GDP, compared to an European Union average of 87.9%. Moreover, in 2021, Denmark was the only country in the European Union, together with Luxembourg, to have a public surplus. In addition, the country has sufficient oil and gas reserves to ensure its energy independence. It's also important to note that the hiring rules are flexible in Denmark, which has the lowest poverty rate among the OECD countries and the highest employment rate in Europe. The Danish are environmentally friendly. For example, today, 50% of electricity in Denmark is supplied by wind and solar power. In Denmark, lots of projects are financed by the European Union. Indeed, many environmental protection projects have been funded by the European Union in Denmark, in areas such as wind energy development, urban water management, waste management, and flood control. For example, flood control projects are financed because Denmark is a relatively flat country, and its average high above sea level is only 31 meters, which increases the risk of flooding. The European Union is also helping with transport development in the Copenhagen area and sharing cutting-edge knowledge in the field of health.
All right, at the age of the Vikings, we owned Sweden, Norway, parts of England and parts of Germany. So once we were actually a kind of big nation. Later on we shrinked, like I don't know how much, but I think we're only 20% of our former size. And now we know we are too small to change anything by ourselves. So we are very dependent on other nationalities. We are very dependent on our development for green energy or for new projects, because we can sell ideas to EU, to other parts of the world. We cannot make our own decision on our own, and we are very aware of that. So we have to be international focused, because we cannot be isolated and just be ourselves like bigger countries like England, for example, just did at Brexit.
I would say in the 1800s, Denmark before the 1800s was a larger country, and our finances were down, so we got smaller. and that made us appreciate the small things like the Danish nature, and everything became like romanticized. That's also the time when our national anthem was written, I'm quite sure. So I think like those core values that make us Danish are very important to us, and we really actually want to spread those values out. Like we think a lot of ourselves in a way. So I think Danish people look out at the world and are like, you could also have some of these qualities and it would probably make life better, especially looking towards like the United States.
We feel, or it's hard for me to say for every Danish people, but I feel we are an important country because we have a voice. We have a voice in green energy, in how we are using our politics, the healthcare system we are proud of. So we think we have good values that other countries can mirror themselves in and ask for advice. So you can say we are consultant in some areas or some subjects where we are traveling around the world to show how it is done. For instance, in China, they are very interested in how we treat elderly people, you know, when they go on pension, because they have a huge burden soon of elderly people, and they somehow saw that we are doing something right. And we are proud to show bigger countries how you can do different things. In the energy sector, we are for sure some of the front runners of wind energy. We have some big companies who make windmills. We sell it to USA, also European countries, and that's because that is our future export. We are focusing heavily on that. We want to be known as a green energy country.
We used to be very much bigger. We had a lot of colonies and stuff like that, but we lost so many wars and so much land, even to Germany and things like that. And I think it made our people, we are not very patriotic.
I think national pride in Denmark is kind of a funny thing. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of Danish flags anywhere, but every single foreigner I've ever talked to always say there's so many flags.
When we show our flag, we just emphasize that we like our country and we are proud of it, you know, but in a positive way. So we are still nationalists, but nationalism in Denmark doesn't have a bad sound to it. We see it as a positive thing, that you want to be part of society and you are proud of the country you live in because you want to work for it, you know, to make it better. And that's what you show when you use the flag, and then it's something who gathers us together. It is a bit weird and strange to me to try to explain how the flag doesn't symbolize colonization or even bad connotations. We just try to focus on better ourselves, improving all the time. We think we have a good political system and a good way of life, so we are actually concentrating on that one. We have a good healthcare system because when you are sick, if you need to get operated, there are help, and we are some of the best in the world. We have experts for every field, even for rare diseases. So you are taken good care of. We are just, you know, there's a high score list for the countries, and we ranked very high, but now we are getting closer and closer to the bottom. So we are going in the wrong direction. So it's still good. It's just going the wrong direction, I think. Well, Before, I said that we have a really good healthcare system. We do. But in the later couple of years, we have made, cuts and cuts in it. So it has not improved. It has actually gotten worse. And I'm not proud of that, and I guess maybe I'm biased because I work in the healthcare sector, but I can see the nurses, for instance, they are working really hard and they're not getting paid equal the amount they deserve, in my opinion. We don't have a lot of psychiatrists, it's very expensive. Our healthcare system is free, but not in the psychological field. It's only for the physiological, and I think that is wrong. Because trauma is also something that should be treated, and not everyone can afford it when it's not free. I think it has to go over the taxes. We have some of the highest taxes in the world. We have 38% of your salary is go directly to taxes. But I think if something goes wrong with you, you are getting taken care of, and I'm proud of that. But I think there are some things that could be improved in that system.
I guess like our opinions about immigrants could be improved. I think in Denmark we're very strict about those things, maybe because we are a little country and we want to protect our own and our home, and we're so like committed to this trust and like to be safe. I think we could open ourselves a little more and be open to other cultures. Yeah.
I think Denmark, as many other countries like Hungary or India and things like that, have devolved into like populism. So that's the way of thinking that is challenging our model the most. It's like populism.
Yeah. And Danish politics for the last at least 20 years has been all about immigration. On the political stage in Denmark, we don't really discuss housing or education or the faltering healthcare system and all these things. We basically only discuss immigration.
Immigrants, that's a topic who's very popular, as you can say, and it will always be popular. We compare ourselves to Sweden, where we see some problems that some parts of Denmark think we can avoid if we don't bring in as much immigrants or refugees as some other people in Denmark wants to. What we hear in Danish media about Sweden, it's mostly about gang wars, violence in the streets, shootings. And the discourse in Danish media is generally that Sweden, have accepted too many immigrants or even refugees, so they can't integrate them properly into the Swedish society. So they make subcultures which fuels the gang wars. And the media in Denmark are covering these stories and saying that it's because they have introduced too many immigrants to the country, and that makes some people in Denmark scared of immigrants, because they think, okay, if we get too many of them, there will be problems, because we don't have those problems at that scale in Denmark. Of course, we have immigrants, we have refugees, but they don't make gang wars at all in Denmark. And I think that's one of the things that's really popular right now in the media. And so that has been going on for quite a while in Danish media, but it's not the same when the Ukrainians came here to Denmark. Everybody took them in with open arms, but we didn't do that with the people from Afghanistan or with the people from Syria when there were a war there.
Denmark is one country in the world that has a ghetto list, which is kind of crazy. In these ghetto areas, you can get double the punishment for the same crime.
Indeed, the Danish government's so-called ghetto deal set higher penalties for crimes and allowed for collective punishment by eviction of entire families if one of their members commits a criminal act. In 2019, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights said in a tweet that the package was hugely troubling and risks heightening racial discrimination against people of migrant origin.
Alright. What I like about Denmark is it's a very free country. You can say, you can do, and yeah, you can do what you want, basically. Just if it doesn't hurt other people. I think we are very welcoming. We can be a bit shy at first, but otherwise we have nice lives in Denmark. The system works. There's no corruption. Things just work in Denmark. I think we are very lucky. I think I'm very lucky to be born and live in Denmark because we're also a rich country. When we are traveling, we see that the prices are lower than it is in Danish countries and Danish cities. So we have the freedom to travel, to explore. There's an understanding that the school system, universities are free, because that should not be a problem. If you want to study, you can do that for free. You're even getting paid to study, actually, and I think that's nice.
The democracy a lot. Everyone is like equal, and I like the way that you can say whatever you want, and there's a lot of different opinions, and you can just be yourself in our country, I guess. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I agree. Like it's a pretty safe. It feels pretty safe. Like the welfare state is quite powerful in Denmark. So like social security and education is really good, even though it's free. So like I would say that people, basically everybody has opportunity because we all start from the same point and get the same tools. Basically, it's not totally perfect, of course, but I would say everybody gets a chance.
Yeah.
It's a very deep understanding that everyone should have at least a decent standard of living.
I am in favor of the European Union. In Denmark, we are a very small country, so we don't have the biggest impact on ourselves, on our own. So we have to be part of something bigger. That is why I think it's important that we, participate even at the UN, NATO, European Union, because we are interconnected society. So we have to be part of something bigger than ourselves instead of just be isolated. I think that's an old way of thinking, to be isolated. We have to participate so we can change Europe and even the world for the better.
It binds us together as Europeans. Like we've had a lot of war in the past and a lot of conflicts, and it allows us to, like, exactly what you're doing, like to connect us in a way and give us a common identity where we can find something in common.
Well, I would like to go to work in Denmark, actually. So my question is, the country is cold, but how are the people? And because there's some myth that the people from the north are like more reserved and stuff, and how would you feel if some extrovert social butterfly would come into your country to kind of experience it for a little? And what is your favorite part of the country, like nature, that you like to visit, and what is that you will recommend?
First of all, I would say it's nice that you're considering working in Denmark. There is some truth to it, where we can be a bit cold. We have some kind of, attitude, but I think it's a very thin wall or barrier, if you will. Like if you sit in a cafe or walk around in public, it's not normal to talk to persons or people you don't know. But if you ask what time it is or bump into each other, you can easily break the barrier, and when you have done that, it's not unusual to get invited to parties or back home to the group of new friends you have met, because we are actually very sociable and welcoming. We just have to know you a bit. So I'll look forward to welcome you to Denmark. It will be a good experience for you. And I think you should visit Aarhus, because that's the second largest city in Denmark, and it's well known for its nature. So there are plenty of work possibilities, and you get the vibe of nature, even in a big city in the scale of Denmark.